What's up, guys? Enkiri here, and welcome to another Enkiri Elite Conjugate Method training vlog. Today we've got a solid upper body workout utilizing a blend of calisthenics, barbells, and dumbbells for a solid variety of pressing and pulling movements. And if you're interested in training like this, be sure to grab a copy of my conjugate manual for yourself at EnkiriEliteFitness.com. Discount code CONJUGATE20 will get you 20% off the manual. And if you enjoy informative training content like this, please remember to smash the like button and leave me a friendly comment down below as well so that more people get the opportunity to see it. So I kicked the day off here with the deload push-up done from a 2.5 inch deficit, and those extra 2.5 inches definitely make a pretty big difference here. Now my goal with this particular variation is to try to keep the body in a pretty solid and rigid straight line and make sure that the chest fully deloads onto the floor on every rep. I don't pause down there for too long, but I do make sure to get that complete dead stop position that I have to explode out of. And what I did here was I worked my way up to 90 pounds on the vest, and then I just cranked out a pretty brutal giant set with that weight. Now my initial goal going into it was to hit 90 pounds for 10 reps on my first bout with the weight, because that would be a rep PR that I had been chasing for quite some time. Going into this set, my best effort was 90 pounds for 8 reps on this particular variation. So I wanted that rep PR pretty badly for a few months, and I ended up getting it here. I got 10 reps on the first go around, and then I just kept pushing it, man. I rested about 30 to 45 seconds after the initial bout, and then I attacked it again and cranked out 3 more gut-wrenching reps with it. Then I rested a bit more, attacked it again and cranked out another 3, and finally I repeated that process 2 more times, and I got an additional 2 reps each time for 20 total reps with 90 pounds, all done in about 5 minutes. So that is pretty brutal work, but it is highly effective for getting in a potent strength and a hypertrophy training effect in a really time-efficient fashion. And after that, I decided to try something new, and it sort of worked, but sort of it was a little bit weird at the same time. You know, they can't all be winners, so I probably won't do this variation again, or at least not with any kind of frequency, but experimenting in the weight room is part of the fun, right? It's never a bad thing, and that's how you find some really good gems as well. So, you know, sometimes something sounds like it'll be really good conceptually, but it just doesn't pan out in reality. But then sometimes the inverse is also true as well. Something sounds like it might be weird or not that good, but it ends up being a freaking gem. So you have to experiment, man. Here it was a high incline bench press to pins done with the buffalo bar. So you've got a little bit of a dead stop component onto the pins, as well as a slight deficit as well on that press based on the pin settings that I have access to, right? You obviously you get a deficit using the buffalo bar, but I'm not able to quite fully maximize that deficit here just because of the way that the height that my bench is and the different pin settings that I have available on my rack here. So that's not really something that's within my control. Either way, there was a little bit of a deficit present, and with that dead stop on the pins, this shit was pretty hard. I only ended up going up to 165 pounds for my top set, which is pretty weak. I definitely had some fatigue carrying over into this movement from those brutal push-ups, that brutal giant set right before it, but no excuses, man. This is just a tough variation. Like I said, this probably definitely won't be a staple moving forward because it was fine, but it was just kind of whatever at the same time. It did give me a solid workout and a solid training effect here though. And then after that, I moved into some pulling work, finally, with the chest-supported dumbbell row with 85 pounds on each bell. And these were really freaking solid. The more I get into it, man, the more and more that I love chest-supported rowing variations like this, especially with dumbbells. For some reason, these movements, they just feel better to me with dumbbells than they do with barbells. I have actually started to really like pen lay rows with a barbell in recent history, but when I'm laying down on a bench chest supported like this, I really like pulling with dumbbells. Anyway, with these, I make sure that the elbows are in full extension at the bottom of the rep. I try to let the back round a little bit to get those muscles into a pre-stretch position. And then from there, I focus on driving the elbows back really aggressively and arcing the upper arm back a little bit as well during the pull so I can get some solid lat engagement and really just create a strong and balanced pulling movement that utilizes as much muscle in the whole of the back as possible. So these are solid and strong, and I got in a really nice volume of work with them as well. A movement like this ends up being pretty easy, at least for me, to really crank up the workload. So I can hit a high level of fatigue by the end of each set, but then I seem to recover really quickly from set to set as well, and I can get in 40 or 50 pretty heavy reps really in just a few minutes on a movement like this. I think in totality, this whole workout took me about 75 minutes, if I recall correctly, maybe 90 minutes tops. Either way, really not too bad, and this particular segment only takes me something like 10 minutes. You're talking about 4 or 5 total sets like this. That's actually pretty good, pretty efficient, and a really solid workload. And then I rounded things out with a few ancillary movements here. I did some Lou raises, just 2 sets of 20 reps, first with the 25s, followed up by another set of 20 with the 15s. In between those, I did some band push downs just to keep the elbows feeling good. I did 2 sets of 30 there. Sometimes I'll do band curls here as well. Also band pull aparts are really great. And I'm really just using the band work in this slot, mostly for the constant tension aspect, but also for the natural drop set that you can do with band work, where you choke up on the band at first when you're fresh, and then you loosen your grip as you fatigue to reduce the band tension and keep the set going. So I can crank out a shitload of reps really quickly with the band, and I can get a nice pump in the upper back and the arms to finish things out and hopefully keep my joints healthy. And you guys know I'm a big fan of the Lou raises. I try to keep them in the rotation consistently, mostly for the sake of shoulder health and mobility. They tend to keep my shoulders feeling pretty good when I'm good about doing them often. It doesn't have to be anything more than what I did here. It's just 2 or 3 sets, 2 times per week. It takes like 5 minutes to get through it, and that's a pretty good deal if it keeps your shoulders pain-free like it does for me. And I finish things up with a pretty brutal superset for the upper back and the rear delts. For that, I start off by cranking out some rear delt flies, relatively heavy for that, but that's fine. And then once I finish up with those, once I'm pretty much at failure, I immediately shift into the dumbbell skier. So that's a little bit of a looser movement. You're kind of using a little bit of momentum. So I cranked that one out to failure as well. And I did 2 sets there. So 2 sets of each, which is basically 4 sets, and I ended up with something like 30 or 40 reps on each set between the 2 movements each time that I did it, and I did that twice. So that's a real burner to finish things off, but that's good work for the upper back and the rear delts. So yeah, man, that's pretty much it. A solid and strong upper body session on the Enkiri Elite Conjugate Method with some pretty brutal and efficient work, a nice mix of calisthenics and free weights. Hope you enjoyed the training vlog. Please remember to smash the like button before you go. Leave me a friendly comment down below. Check out EnkiriEliteFitness.com for online coaching and training programs, and keep training hard. I will catch you guys next time.